In for this, the 6th of April, 2020. How are you today? You're looking almost smirky, kind of well-shaven.
I'm doing well. Yeah, I thought I'd wear a nice shirt. You have a nice shirt on too if you're a convict. But I
Well,
no,
it's
that's not nice.
that's not
Actually, no, why not?
considering what we're doing. No, I didn't even think of a particular
I just
mind
throw
play.
this
Yeah.
one. I had to get dust off. I haven't worn this shirt since 1959. I had to get dust off the shoulders, so the epaulettes.
Coming up,
So
we have a chat with our colleague Pierre D'Amour, and we'll explain whom he is and what he does in a couple of minutes. He's a bright guy. I just have a couple of quick things to share with you, then I'll let you
sure.
go.
Is Pierre?
Um,
I'm sorry. Is Pierre going to talk about his trip to South Africa? Because he
he's going to
mentioned that.
talk about a bunch of different things. He's ready to go. I have some photographs
Okay.
for him. You're enjoying Brockmire, I trust. Um, Again,
It is. I just. It's so deviantly funny. You can't. You do feel guilty when you laugh out loud.
but it's so well done. And Azaria, and they're in their fourth and final season now, which is streaming through, I think, the next 6 weeks. But if you get a chance to go back to the beginning and watch this, it is great fun. We've talked about it before. Again, thumbs up to you for bringing this up. I had no idea the Windsors were back, having great fun watching this. And I know a few people have contacted us via the Facebook page to say the same. So this is worth watching too. Now, a couple of
The
other
last couple
suggestions.
of episodes get seriously weird.
Okay, well, I'm sure. A couple of other suggestions that go back a year or two now.
We're watching this.
This is very well done.
It is.
English, British series, and a terrific cast. And it may appear to be sophomoric, maybe once you start streaming the first or second episode, but give it time because it's very well written and it delves into all matter of elements related to sexuality in a terrific way. And I've watched the two seasons. I believe there's a third that may be in preparation now, and this is worth watching. And if you want something a bit more sophomoric and in your face, there's this one. This is worth
Right.
watching too, David. This is
Awkwardly touching.
Nick Kroll, and the character you see down here at the bottom of the screen is essentially, it looks a little bit like Nick Kroll. He's a comedian and a writer based in the U.S. And this is again.
Hold on a
This
second.
is,
I'm getting a phone call.
I think these are. I think they're in their second season now. But this again, if
Hello.
you want to laugh and have a
Hi.
good time, this is worth
Yeah.
watching too.
Can you
So,
hold on a few minutes? I'm doing my podcast with Uncle Ivan, so I'll call you back later. Oh,
so anyway, quick, and then
I'll
we
talk
will
to you later.
back to while
Bye.
Dave is on the
Oh,
phone.
okay. Sorry.
Okay. Was that
Home
your
stuff.
is that your accountant?
That's no, that's my brother.
Yeah,
He
that
should be calling
he
soon.
he is
No,
your
it was
accountant, isn't he?
he, he is my brother is my accountant. Sorry for the interruption. That was my son Jeff. He's
Oh,
helping us do shopping today.
okay. Your turn, sir.
Okay, did we get through Big Mouth? I didn't hear it
I
because
did,
I
yeah.
was off.
Just quickly wrap up on that. Nick Kroll, again, it's an animated series. It's about sexuality. It's more sophomoric in its approach than the live action series from the Brits, but
Mhm.
it delves into all manner of elements again related to sexuality, and it does so in a very intelligent way. So then, if you want to laugh, just to let go, I suggest it. So there you
It's
go.
on Netflix.
On Netflix, called Big
Okay.
Mouth. Your turn, and now we're looking at. Oh, this is a Polaroid you took in your backyard recently, I guess, is it? No, no, I
Well,
said
you know,
stay
we've had
stay
some
behind that
legal
tree,
problems
Dave.
with the
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
that?
Stay behind that tree until I finish my drink.
Well, we've had some legal problems with the neighbors. No, I told you I finished Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
I moved on to Washington Irving,
Oh,
the headless horseman of Sleepy Hollow.
oh my.
And that, of course, is Ichabod Crane on the white horse. The state of the early American novel It was pretty god awful because, to start off with, the Puritans who ended up in the States thought writing or reading novels, both, were terrible acts of the devil and laziness, if not quite acts of the devil. So early American novels are really quite awful. They only really, and The Headless Horseman is not even a novel, it's a short story, but only in the early 19th century did American writing become in any way of a high quality, and Washington Irving was one of the pioneers. And we all know the Walt Disney story, of course, but this is beautifully written, so I'm enjoying that. And I want to get to some Canadian writers again soon, Hugh MacLennan or something like that, or more recent writers as well. And then it was just told to me by my book club that they are sending me this by Beverly McLaughlin, of course, who was the 17th Supreme Court Chief Justice of Canada, who is also a fairly good writer on her own. She's written a novel. I'm not a novel reader. I don't read fiction much. I don't know about you, but both the novel she wrote, but this is her autobiography, and it has been getting very good reviews. And I've always been a big fan of Beverly McLaughlin, so I'm looking forward to reading that. So that's what I've got in the pipe these days. Other than that, it's just us.
Okay.
And am I back with you?
You are. And just a quick note, it reminds me, I don't know that we mentioned this, I wanted to give a thumbs up to Hydro-Quebec, and Sophie Brochu has been appointed to head. I think you and I may have talked about this, but kudos to her. Heard her interviewed a couple of days ago, and elle a du pif, cette femme, smart as a tack, sharp as a tack.
She's the new CEO, right?
Yeah, going to do very, very well, I'm sure. And again, I can't underline this more frequently or frequently enough. Hydro's doing a very good job, as are all of the folks who are taking care of the infrastructure, as this particular episode in the evolution of humanity wears on. My God, have I bored you to death yet?
No.
Let's try to get Monsieur D'Amour online. Oh, I've been up since 5, so...
Yeah, you see, I'm just sort of rolling out of bed. You've been churning it up for 5 hours. So.
I have just... yeah, there we go. Let's see, add... no, we're not going to add. Here we go. Let's see if we can get Monsieur D'Amour on the horn. On the horn. You're getting another call from your accountant?
Yeah, well, Betsy's next door, so she'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a pretty popular guy.
You are. There he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Pierre.
Good morning.
Good to see you finally in the flesh, so to speak. Yes.
Wait. Yes. Well,
I didn't know you were going the Chrome route too with Uncle Happy Man.
This happened very recently when I actually came back from my barbershop and took a look at the back end of my Chrome dome, which wasn't Chrome at the time. And I looked like somebody who'd gone through some sort of burn unit because it was in the back.
Well, I guess we can laugh about that these days.
Yes. And so I said, no, I don't want to look like someone who's had acid dumped on their head. I might as well go Chrome. So that's what I did.
Well, I wanted to show you.
Right?
Yes.
We have pictures of you on Facebook without the beard, which are, I guess, quite a few years old.
I wanted to show you then the device that I've ordered before you can continue. This is what I was talking about, David, yesterday. Now you see this thing?
Okay.
It is
I saw that and I thought, oh, Bombardier is making a new trike.
It is a device that you use to shave your head. So your finger goes into that slot at the top here, and then the wheels allow this thing to roll on your head, and this back element here is a blade. So
I don't know. I'm sort of with Pierre. I see the scope of it, but at first it looked like an electronic bike.
Yes, this is a very large illustration of what is a small device about the size. Here it is. And
so Dave, being the hockey fan that you are, actually the way he's described it, I now would call it the Skull Zamboni.
The Skull Zamboni, yeah. Does this have? You see, I worry about you two guys because I'm thinking about you constantly.
You are.
The idea of shaving the head scares me. Nicks, cuts. There are more veins in the skull
Yeah. Well, not
than.
in my case. No, it's kind of there's a good depth here of emptiness under the main bone of the cranium. So
I
whatever I
see.
nick here, it isn't going to
You have a
change much of
parallel.
anything. Yeah.
Well,
So
but Pierre,
I've
were you a little nervous about it first?
not so much the nicking, because I've got friends, several friends who've done this. What I worried about was being able to get it right, because the first time I tried, I obviously didn't. And of course, my daughter, who has no filter, immediately seized on that and said, "Oh, you did this by yourself, didn't you?" Okay, yes, I did. So I wasn't using the right. I wasn't using the right instrument. I was using the finishing razor, which Yvonne would know, because you need. Well, I don't know if you need two now, but I do. I need my ordinary razor, which I use for my beard. I just take the guide off and I just go straight with it. And then to finish, I have something called a wall. It looks like one of your old, your dad would have had those old Ronson straight. They were square and
Yes.
they had. Okay,
Yeah.
it looks like that, and it's made to really go after very, very fine hair. So it finishes the job. But I was using that to do it, and it cannot cut anything below. I think it's 1 or 1.5
yeah,
centimeters.
well, that's what I have. I have the fuzz here that I want. I want to go full Lex Luthor. I asked my spouse if she wanted to play Supergirl Lex Luthor, and she said, "No."
Now you shave every day. Do you, Pierre?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
every second.
no. Okay.
Every
And,
second.
and you shave every day because you're
I'm
anal
just
retentive,
insane.
right?
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. So,
I-
Do you
Pierre,
enjoy it?
I'd be
I
interested, Yvonne,
I
to
do.
know
I
exactly
do.
what you mean by playing Supergirl in Lex Luthor.
No, listen. If I get pictures, I'll show them to you. But it doesn't sound like we're going to be playing that out anytime soon. I've
No,
been
he
told.
once asked me out to Buccaneer night once,
I
and
have
I said no.
I have way too much.
No
I have way
way.
too much yard work to do. What is it? What's the comedian? I forget his name now. And he says in my relationship, it's all about points. If you take the kids to school, you get X number of points. You take the garbage out, you get X number of points. And so my buddies
Oh.
called me to go for a beer the other day, and I said, "No, I've only got enough points for a bike ride, guys. I can't get out." So I got points to earn. Anyway, Pierre, we need to introduce you. You and I have worked together over the years in communications and media skills training and things like that. We don't know each other all that well, but I know that you worked as a reporter, you worked as a filmmaker, you worked in management consulting and all sorts of things. Maybe give us a quick little overview, or have I covered it, or is there more than meets the eye?
That basically does cover it.
Okay.
Journalism for the first 15 odd years of my career started in a small country station. Well, small country station. It was a kind of a stepping stone for Télémédia, which was called CKCH in Hull. Several of French Canada's major broadcasters started there or went through there. Henri Bergeron, who became the voice of Radio-Canada, went through there. Pierre Dufault, whom you all know, sports. Lionel Duval also went through there. And when I got there, Paul Hood was our morning man at one point.
Oh,
Paul and Pierre did the, that was funny. Yeah, so Paul would do the 6 to 9 and Pierre would do the 9 to 12. And they started calling themselves d'un Hood à l'autre.
And what years was that?
I got there in 75.
Okay. I was across the river at CFRA in Ottawa at exactly the same time.
I strung for CFRA, Lowell Green and Company.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was overnight at
God,
CFRA.
Lowell Green.
Yeah.
Maurice Biggio at the same time was at the Citizen as a reporter. We used to meet up in Aylmer because he covered Aylmer. That was Tombstone. in the day,
Yeah,
boys.
well,
It was
Modest just had his 65th birthday. Small
yes,
world. Modest, of
yep,
course, worked
Otis
at
worked at
CBC for
CBC.
many years.
Yep.
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 Yeah.
Well, I ended up eventually at the CBC, but from CKCH, I went to Canadian Press, parliamentary correspondent in Ottawa and then Quebec City during the first Levesque government. Was offered a job as assistant director of public relations for the Canadian Labour Congress, so came back to Ottawa for a while. Ended up at La Presse as a business columnist, doing small, medium-sized business, business profiles and things like that. Then got laid off. I am le mise à pied of the newsroom in 1981. And I ended up at the CBC, and I ended up first in Vancouver, spent 3 years there from 81 to 84, August of 84. Got brought back to ostensibly work for Le Point, but on the way in, something happened, and I ended up in the local show called Les Actualités. So did that, and I did some stringing for CBC when I was in Vancouver, and I eventually ended up going to public affairs, working for Le Sens des Affaires, which was the sister show to Venture. Got drafted by Venture, and
Venture. Yes,
yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
I did the transition between Patrick. Oh, come on, Pierre. Patrick Watson and Bob Robert Guy Scully, because
Oh yeah, oh my God,
Yeah.
Watson, you've been around the block, Pierre.
Yeah.
Watson quit to do his series on democracy. Which he was doing at the time. I only really got to work with him once, and then Robert Guy came in, and Robert, they tried several people, but they finally settled on Robert. And he arrived, and he did his first official show. And the way it works, if we aired Sunday. Monday it was a day off for anybody who'd been involved in the Sunday show, and then your week started on Tuesday, and Tuesday was the go around. Now, Radio-Canada doesn't work necessarily that way. You don't necessarily do a team critique of the show. You do storyboardings and you throw story ideas together at a team meeting, but you don't criticize the last show, not that much. It always started with the critique of the show, and it was very open. So Duncan McEwen, who's the executive producer, said, okay, comments on the show. And the first guy is, we all deferred to the veteran, Colin King, and Colin says, our new host needs a haircut. He looks like a kindergarten kid. He doesn't do Bay Street. And it just went downhill from there. To the point where Patrick Watson jumped in and said, guys, you got to give the guy a break. But we were so identified to Watson as the show host that it was hard for them to get off that. So I ended up doing a bit of, patting on the back to Robert and saying, don't worry, this will work. And it ended up working very well. I did one of his first interviews, because part of the show is the interview of the week, which the host would do either in studio or on location. And it was a very obscure thing about insurance industry, and it was the VP Canada for Metropolitan Life. And Robert asked this first question, and the guy went, well, Bob, I left the room because I was going to laugh. He went red. And that was part of his adaptation. He had to become this new guy. Toronto, he had to fit in and not the other way around. It was quite the adjustment.
Wow, quite the experience.
That was kind of cool.
Been a lot of water under the bridge since then. I want to get to you were remarking on our little travel logs here on Dave's and mine, and I was talking about Cameroon yesterday, and Dave was covering off on places he'd been to and places he'd like to go to. But you're into going underwater, are you not?
Yes, I actually managed to turn that into kind of partly kind of a living, because I did some underwater documentaries for Découverte, and one of on the shipwrecks of the St. Lawrence, and also on the coming of the zebra mussel. In fact, we scooped National Geographics. We were on location in Lake Erie a week before they showed up. And so I did some of that. I did one for National Geographics, and then I ended up working with Paul Cadieux and Green Space Productions, and we developed a series called Walk on the Wild Side, where we followed the
Pierre,
adventures
were you
of people.
in one of these? Were you
Okay.
in one of these deep
So
water?
Yep. So this is not exclusively a scientific sub. This is actually the brainchild of a guy I can't remember his name. He's a Dutch-born Canadian who immigrated to Curacao in the 80s and built himself a real beautiful little empire of hotels. He's got an aquarium, very very well developed. And a couple of years ago, he approached another Dutch-born Canadian, Peter Newtons, in Vancouver, who's the president of Newtco, who builds these mini subs, and deep water diving systems. That's the end of the show.
And this is you?
That's me.
In the sub?
And the red and the red number is the depth in feet.
Okay, so
1,005
feet.
Okay, so this is James Cameron's plaything kind of.
Where were you diving at this time?
So you can go to Curacao, and when they're not using their sub, when they're not renting it out to the Smithsonian Institution or several universities they have as clients, they built an elongated version of a research sub, which now can bring 4 people plus the pilot down for tourism. So I've been on it twice. It is hoisted, as you saw, every morning. Mm-hmm. Oh, hang on to this guy for a sec.
Okay.
So they hoist it out every night. They reservice it. They hoist it back out, and you can for I think it's $800 have the adventure of your life on a research submarine and dive to 1,000 feet. And it's a 4.5-hour dive. You're on your stomach most of the time because they're not. This is a kind of cramped space. You wouldn't be able to socially distance yourself in this thing because it's about 6.5 meters long.
Wow.
So are you alone, Pierre, or is there a pilot or what?
No, we have a pilot, and he sits in the middle, and you have 2 people on each side like this, and he's got a bench in the back, and you can see that there are portholes at the rear. Those portholes show you that's the added on part for this model, and you can sit 2 people. So then you go in, you just come out, and Curacao is part of the Netherlands Antilles. So these are mountains. These islands are actually the tops of mountains. So you don't really need to go very far to drop. And that drop where we went to 1,000 feet goes for 13,570 feet.
Oh,
wow. And who's this guy?
So he is a frogfish. This is a fish that only his mom could love. But if you notice, he's got something in the back. They look like feet in the back. They're actually his flippers. But he's in transition. If you look at the other shot, now there you have him from the back. This fish is slowly turning into an amphibian. He doesn't swim so much as he walks on the bottom.
Oh, so that's why he looks like my brother-in-law.
Voila. And you'll love this. You'll see these 2 tiny specks at the rear there near the tail. Yeah. Those are his gills. So this guy breathes out his ass.
Oh, righty then.
He's a member of the Trump administration.
Right.
Voila.
That's amazing.
Good night. We're here all week.
Now, wait a minute. Pierre, I don't know about you, Yvonne, but Pierre, do you suffer from claustrophobia at all? I would be, or maybe it's being out of control because I don't like flying either.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me.
I've had some bouts. There are different kinds of environments. When I started out here in the 70s, we were the 2nd or 3rd generation of sport divers here. I got the bug when I was like, God, I remember 5 or 7 years old watching Sea Hunt, which was my show. And
yes,
I
remember that.
I thought this guy's like Superman. He flies, but he flies in water, and I wanted to do that.
Because my son only knows them from the airplane movies.
So I did that. When I got to CEGEP, you could actually take a course. So I took the course. And I immediately I'm 16 years old. I don't have the money to go south. So the first seven odd years of my diving was spent in lakes, rivers, the Ottawa River primarily, because I lucked in by accident to a group called the Santa Maria Society, which was run by two underwater archaeologists for Parks Canada, who, brainy that they are, said, hey, divers want to dive. We need cheap labor. We're going to teach these guys how to do archaeology. So we would dive every weekend in the Ottawa River from Ottawa down to about Hawkesbury and in the St. Lawrence, because they would find references for wrecks, and we would basically identify, locate, and then take some things out. But the Ottawa River at 15 feet is pitch black, and this is what you see. We would dive, and we had an 8-foot line between each of us, so you wouldn't lose your buddy. And you had these huge lights, but they only gave a shaft of light about this long. So at one point we thought we'd found the boiler of an old paddle steamer, because Montreal, Ottawa was done. The communication, basically transport was paddle wheelers, and we thought we'd found the boiler. It turned out after 3 minutes we were like, this is too big to be a boiler, because we kept tapping on the bottom. And then my buddy got the bright idea to start looking up. We realized that we were in the storm sewer of the city of Ottawa. It's time to back out and leave.
And now wait a minute, Ottawa to Hawkesbury.
And that got me nervous. I have to say, that blackness, that weighed on me. So I got a little nervous about that. For about 1.5 years, 2 years, I stopped. And then I got going again, very slowly, small depths, finally got myself back into it. And today, I usually start my season in Cardinal, Ontario, on the Conestoga, which is an absolutely beautiful little playground.
That's where my sister
just
is.
off. Well, oh, really?
Yeah.
And so you ask her about the Conestoga, she'll tell you.
Okay. Gentlemen, we are done for today. We're almost at 30 minutes here. So many more stories to tell. But David has another question.
Pierre in full gear next time.
Okay.
I have pictures.
Or do you? No. We want you standing there. We actually, before we close, what does the T-shirt say?
Oh. And God said,
let there be light. Is that what it says?
And there
will be light, and there was light. And then you were telling me that you wear this when the Jehovah's Witnesses come to your house?
I did it once. It was cute. It was really cute. Oh, one last little thing, by the way. When you dive on that submarine, they give you one of these, and they say, draw something on it.
Okay.
It's a foam cup.
Yes.
Okay. And they put it in a little pouch, and they tie it outside the hatch. When you come back, this is your foam cup.
Oh my, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
All the air is out of it.
I hope that doesn't happen to part of your anatomy.
That would happen if there was a crack in the boat.
It would. Now, what did you write on the cup?
Oh, the only thing I've ever been able to actually draw with any sort of competence is Oogly Woogly from Romper Room. Anybody remember Romper Room?
Yes.
Of course.
The boy worm.
Romper, Stomper, Dumper, whatever the hell it is. Yeah.
So the only thing I can draw with any sort of competence is Oogly Woogly, the boy worm. So I drew
that
him.
beats the two of us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Again, we've been outdone.
Forget it.
We've been outdone by
bad stick people.
By some.
Pierre, it was great to meet you.
Thanks, buddy.
A pleasure. It was fun.
We will have Pierre back on because there were so many stories in there. We could go on for days. So, well, if you don't mind, we'll have you on as a regular here, Pierre.
Oh, I would have so much fun. I'm honored. I'm emotional now at this point, but I'm honored because you know what? You two guys were in many ways my idols. Well, I used to listen to you. I still remember this one time. You gave the time, you gave the temperature, you turned around, you looked at everybody, Dave, and you said, "Book 'em, Dano." And you went to music. And I had no idea why that.
Pierre, as long as you say, I listened to you guys when I was a kid, you'll be fine, pal.
You'll be just great, buddy.
Actually,
All right.
Pierre, it's great to
I was,
meet you.
I was an adult. But okay, pleasure
Ciao,
to meet
buddy.
you, sir.
À
Nice
bientôt,
to
là.
talk to you.
Yep.
Pierre is quite the guy. He's got a lot
I
of
didn't know he
stories.
was that much of a diver. I mean,
Oh,
I met him online. I knew nothing about the reporting or anything. We just sort of met on Facebook, and
because
lot
I
of
got
fun.
to know him when he was in that stage of his career. He was doing docks and he was diving. He's an avid diver, and I've discovered the rest of it kind of backwards. And it's weird that he and I were working across the river from each other in Ottawa so many years ago, but at Sikasayash. So
Well, now we've got him back in the media, and a star is born. We've created
another star is born thanks to you, his idol.
Okay, book him, Dano.
All right, book him. We'll talk to you
À
tomorrow.
demain.
Bye.